All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our 6th edition BCBA Task List series. Today we're continuing H with H3, select socially valid alternative behavior when a target behavior is to be decreased. H3 is a very straightforward idea where we don't just stop or eliminate behaviors, we teach new behaviors that are going to meet the same function as the one we are reducing. It's a way we remain ethical, it's a way we remain dignified as far as the client is concerned, and it's a socially valid way to teach. We can't take somebody's means of obtaining or getting rid of something away, such as a behavior, and then leave them with nothing else. That old behavior is likely to come back, and it's just not an ethical way to do it. So H3, very straightforward, but an important concept to remember when you are targeting behaviors for decrease. As always, like, subscribe, and share if we're helping you in any way. We also have RBT materials available. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. When you pass, let us know. Work hard, study hard, and let's get going. So when we're designing an intervention to decrease the target behavior, we want to select and teach an alternative behavior to take its place. So here we're thinking about a DRA or a DRI procedure. We're going to eliminate that target behavior through extinction and other means, while also simultaneously teaching a replacement. Now, the fair pair rule is something that I think about a lot and I really emphasize when I'm teaching and tutoring. When you target a behavior for reduction, what you're essentially doing is eliminating a way for someone to do something. Behavior happens for a reason, to get rid of something or to gain something. If you're eliminating a behavior, you're eliminating a way for that person to get rid of or gain something. To be ethical and remain socially valid, we need to teach a behavior in its place. If we don't, what's likely to happen is that behavior will often come back, and a lot of times worse. So simply blocking a response and suppressing a response is not enough. We need to teach them something else in its place so that other behavior doesn't start to creep back in, because that behavior is happening for a reason. We need to give them an alternative way to engage or gain or get rid of whatever it is they're trying to gain or get rid of. So end of the day, we don't just stop behaviors, right? That's a common misconception. You're just stopping and suppressing behaviors. It's not what we're doing. We're trying to teach a client a more efficient, a more socially valid way to control their environment and to respond to their environment. When we choose alternative behaviors, they must be functionally equivalent. If you're reducing a behavior that happens for a tangible, that replacement behavior needs to obtain a tangible. Attention and escape automatic is the same thing. Behavior often happens to gain or get rid of something. Now, how do we figure that out? Well, we do FBAs. We determine the function of that behavior for decrease, and then we choose other behaviors or another behavior that can replace it and meet the same function. So we want to target the same consequence that the old behavior is contacting and just teach that new behavior. When the new behavior is taught, use that same consequence. So for example, if we're functional matching an escape maintain behavior, if the client hits to escape a math worksheet, we can choose an alternative behavior to teach them to escape that worksheet. So maybe we give them a card that says break please. Okay? We can't just teach them to ask for a toy. It's not the same function, because what they're trying to do is get out of the math worksheet, not necessarily gain a tangible. Attention maintained. If a client vocalizes to get a peer to look at them, we can teach them to tap the peer on the shoulder or another way to engage with the peer to recruit attention. Letting them escape from a task for vocalizing loudly still doesn't get that peer's attention, and really you might just be reinforcing a problem behavior and creating a new problem behavior without actually addressing the issue at hand. Now, when you are choosing an alternative behavior, there's a lot of choices to pick from, but we don't just pick any random behavior. You've got to remember, we're trying to teach more socially valid behaviors, but if we're teaching a behavior that's extremely complicated or takes a long time to get to reinforcement, think about how matching law works, where whatever behavior is going to contact reinforcement quicker typically happens more often. So if we're trying to teach an alternative behavior, we want it to be more efficient. We don't want it to be too much effort, or the client's going to go back to the old behavior often because reinforcement's not being obtained quick enough. So when we're teaching a new behavior, especially during the learning phase, that behavior should be equal or less effort than the old behavior in a perfect world. When we're teaching and learning the BCBA material, everything is kind of in this vacuum of a perfect world. We know the world's not perfect. We know everything doesn't always work this way. But these are the guidelines how you should start thinking about it. So we're not just, you can't, so if you're picking a behavior and it's a little more effort or what, it's okay, but this is just kind of the borders you're working within, right? That new behavior cannot be so complicated that the old behavior is just easier and contacts way more reinforcement for the client. So the schedule of reinforcement. When we're teaching, we want to use this continuous reinforcement, especially when we're trying to eliminate and teach at the same time. We also want the time between the new behavior and the consequence to be shorter than or equal to that old behavior. So for example, let's say we have a problem behavior of throwing a book and they get a 5-minute break from work. Very low effort, quick reinforcement. That's why it's happening. A flawed alternative would be a 10-step token board to earn a break. A lot more effort, reinforcement's much more delayed. If I have to go through a whole 10-step token board to earn this break, well, throwing this book is a much quicker way to go about it. So you're going to be fighting against your own intervention every step of the way. Alternatively, maybe they just tap a green break button or give a green break card. It is just about the same amount of effort as throwing a book, maybe even less, but it's also providing that instant reinforcement. So these two are much closer as far as response effort and latency goes than the flawed alternative. So think about that, right? I have my replacement behavior. What does that look like in practice, right? What does it look like when they're actually engaging in it? How quickly is reinforcement contacted? What about the old behavior? How quickly is reinforcement contacted? This is really where you're starting to become a BCBA and you're actually thinking through these things, right? You're not just saying, well, I'm going to use a differential reinforcement procedure. You've got to think a lot more deeply than that about your interventions and not just you're not just conducting a preference assessment in FBA and starting. You have to be a lot more thoughtful about what you're removing and what you're teaching and the efficiency and all these things. This is what makes you a great BCBA. Finally, social validity. We always talk about this. It comes up over and over again because it's incredibly important. When we're teaching behavior, it's got to matter. It's got to be meaningful. It's got to matter in their natural environment. And we ideally want to expand their independence, right? We're trying to get them to develop to a place where they're not 100% reliant on us. So the behavior should be relevant to their environment. Clinical teaching is great. It doesn't matter if it's not generalizing. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work in their natural space. Behavioral cusp. Try to pick behaviors that are meaningful and start to open doors to new environments and interactions and things like that. So back to our break question, giving a break card is great, but are there other ways we can teach coping mechanisms and ways to avoid and get out of things that we don't necessarily want to do, but that are much more meaningful and that can maybe open doors to new interactions and help in the environment, right? So always be thinking not only in the immediate short term, but long term as well. What's going to matter long term? Topographical acceptability. We also want that behavior to be normal and acceptable. And now a lot of people might say, well, what is your definition of normal? And that's fair, right? We're thinking cultural norms, social norms. Think about what the people around your client will think if you're giving in this case, a giant bright neon card in a high school classroom. Okay. I've heard examples of kids being put in desks and you put tape around the desk and they've got to stay inside the tape. To me, that's just, it's very stigmatizing, right? So what does it look like in just a natural setting? If you didn't know anybody and you walked in that environment, could you pick out the kid immediately that was quote unquote receiving extra support, right? And if you can, are there ways to reduce that and limit that and make it more acceptable and socially valid? H3, again, not too complicated. So I always say H is not that complicated compared to some of the other items because now we're building on the other items, but it requires a lot more thinking like a BCBA. Now you're not just applying terms and definitions. You're thinking about what do my interventions look like? What are my target behaviors, my replacement behaviors? Is it efficient? Is it socially valid? Is there a better way to do it? You're really starting to become a BCBA as we get deeper and deeper into H. As always, like, subscribe, please share with others. We love word of mouth. We love when people come and talk about how study groups are using our materials. We're just trying to provide the best material possible for your exams, make you the best BCBAs out there. We also have RBT materials available for BCBA materials. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com. When you pass, let us know. Work hard, study hard, and see you soon.